This is Jan from the Fuzzy Duckling, bringing you number 4 in our series, Learning How to Draw. Last time we talked about drawing straight lines, and you may wonder, what can you do with straight lines? So today we are going to do a project based on straight lines and little dots, which I think any of us can do a little dot. We are going to draw snowflakes. So let's get at it. First, we're going to start with a simple snowflake. So let's draw a straight line down. Now I have to twist my paper around to work. Now about halfway down that straight line, draw one the same length across it. Now you are going to do just what we call eyeballing. We want those about the same length, but we're just guessing. We're not digging out a ruler to see. And then we're going to cross those lines that way and then cross them that way. Can you see that already you have a good beginning to a snowflake? Now, let's make it just a little fancier. Let's come here at the end of each one of these lines and do a V. See that little V? Let's just go around and make a V on every one of those lines. Okay, now at the end of every one of those lines, right above your V, let's color in a dot. I see I left a little of that white. There we go. Luckily, it's always easy to go back and fix when you're working in pencil. So, did you see how many dots and how many lines there are? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now in the middle, let's make a little bigger dot. Now that looks like a snowflake, doesn't it? Well, this is our first snowflake. It is fairly simple. Now we're going to show you some other versions of these snowflakes. How about this? Let's start out the way we did with this one. Remember how we started? A line down, halfway across. We go this way, and we go this way. So now, let's make this up and down line longer than the others. Let's add some up here. Let's add some down here. This will be a neat looking snowflake. So, those little V's we did, we're going to put 3 of them on the top line, and 3 of them down here on our long bottom line. They almost look like arrows, don't they? And then we will do just one here, like we did on this one over here. So 1 V on all of these. Now, let's go in and put our dots at the end of each line. And don't forget to put the big dot in the middle. See, now we have a different looking snowflake. And wasn't that simple? Okay. Let's see. Let's try it this way. Let's go ahead and draw our beginning lines. 1 down, 1 across. Let's cross it this way and cross it this way. Now what we're going to do is those last 2 lines, we're going to make them longer. Instead of the first ones we drew, we're going to make the last ones we drew longer. See how they're longer than these? And so what we're going to do is put 3 on these long ones. So there'll be 4 this time that you put 3 on. Okay, let's put one on these four, just like we did on the others. Let's add our circles on the end. Well, I should say little dots. They're kind of circles, aren't they? Filled in circles. Now, in the middle, we're going to do something a little different. Let's add a little line coming out between every one of these. And now let's do our center circle. Now, we did almost the same thing on every one of these snowflakes, but do you see how different they look just by changing one or two things? I think these really look neat. Now I have 3 more for you to do, and these are going to be a little fancier yet. Let's see, let's do this one next. Okay, we're going to draw one like this again. See, if I don't think I did it quite long enough, I can always add on a little bit. This is supposed to be enjoyable, so don't get too uptight that everything has to be perfect. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is to put 4 V's on every one of these lines. 4. Now, after you put 4 V's on those, come in and put your dot on the end of each of these lines. You can see how this is going to be a beautiful snowflake. Now, after you've put the dots on each of these ends, let's put a dot on the end of each little V line. It turns this into a nice lacy snowflake when you add all these little dots in. Okay, when you have those little dots in, let's go in and like we did on this last one we did over here, we're going to put short little lines between every one of these. And then make your bigger dot here in the center. Now, isn't that a pretty snowflake? I just love this snowflake. I think this is about the favorite one of all the ones we do. Okay, we have 2 more versions of snowflakes to show you today, although I'm sure you can come up with a lot more. And I would challenge you to see how many more snowflakes you can come up with. All right, we're going to start out the same way again as this first one we did, and what was the basis for this one. So let's draw our lines. Even them out as best as we can. Now this one is going to be a little different. You're going to learn a little different move. We want to make a tiny little mark where we eyeball that it is halfway between here and here on every one of these. It's about halfway. Now this is a mark we don't need to keep. We're just putting it that way so we can see where to draw another line. So it doesn't have to be very dark. Now, go from the top of this line and draw to that point. Now go up to the top of the next line and draw down to the next dot. Top to the dot. Do you see what an interesting shape this is making? Top to the dot. Top to the dot. This looks a little short. There we go. Top to the dot. Here we go again. Now look at that. Isn't that interesting what happened there? Of course, now we're going to make this a little fancier. Now let's come in here and put a dot on the ends of these. And then above that dot, let's put a V. Okay, now we have to make this more interesting yet, though. On this line that we drew from the top to the dot, let's put V's on that line. Depending on how big you made this, you may put, say, 3 like I've done. You may need to do 4. You may do 5 or 6. However long that little line is, just fill it with V's. Now, remember, this is the line that you drew from the point down to that dot. Look how this is coming out really interesting. Just keep twirling your paper if you need to. Sometimes I like to move my paper, and sometimes I don't. That is entirely up to you. Okay, we need to make this just a trifle fancier. Let's come in here. Oh, and about in the middle of one of our, well, we could call that a triangle. We want to put another dot and another dot. And let's do that all the way around. And let's do one more thing. Let's add our little lines in between to fill in that center. And we'll make our center dot. Now, isn't that neat? I love that. Now we have one more version of this. Let me show you. Now, I'm going to show you something here too. It looks like I've been really trying to make these lines up and down, but you know, if you're drawing snowflakes, you actually want to vary that. So if you were drawing several on a page, you might want to start one out at an angle. Like that, instead of being straight up and down. That will make your page look more like you have a lot of snowflakes, because I doubt if they all come down in the same direction. Now, I was talking and not doing too good here. Let's see if I can even these out a little bit. Now, we want to do the same thing with this one. So let's put a little mark about halfway down our lines. These look pretty when you color them in. These, if you color that in, it really looks neat. So here we go. Halfway. So let's see what happens, because I didn't do so good on my lines this time. But you know what? I bet it will come out just fine. After all, these are snowflakes, right? I don't think they complain if we get things a little crooked. Okay, this started out just the same way this one did, but now we're going to decorate it a little different. Let's add a little extra line on the end of each one of these. Whoops, I think I better erase that. That came out funny, didn't it? See, isn't it good that we have erasers? We all need erasers. Nothing wrong with using an eraser. Okay, now let's add a V right here, right at the tip or point here on every one of these lines. Notice how we're doing these all with just straight lines and dots. Isn't that interesting that you can do so much with straight lines and dots? There, we put our dots on the ends. Now, let's decorate this up a little bit. Let's come on to, again, this one where you drew down and you drew to that little mark. Let's put 3 little lines like that. You could put 4 or 5, and that depends on how long your lines are. Mine aren't very big on this sheet of paper, so I'm thinking 3 is enough. But you may want 4 or 5, or you may want to put them closer together and make a bunch in there. You know, that would work just great too. But instead of the V's we put on the other one, we're putting straight little lines. Okay, now let's go to our center and let's make our little extra lines in here that always fill that center out so nicely. And then fill in our big center dot. Now look at that, there's another one all together. Isn't that neat? We have 6 different snowflakes. So I challenge you to practice these. These are great for exercising your hand to draw these straight lines. Practice these and see how many more you can come up with. I'm sure you can come up with a dozen more anyway. And let's see what interesting things you can do. Now, these are really fun to color. So in our next video, we're going to do a project that we cover a sheet with these snowflakes and we color them in. I think this was so much fun to make, and we'll start right from the beginning and show you how to do this project in our next video. So get your piece of paper, get a pencil, practice snowflakes, and then we'll get back together again and we'll make this neat picture of snowflakes. So until then, bye-bye.